In this week's episode, I'm joined by Andres Sigcha, founder of Tariy.ai. This week, our conversation is about DEI metrics in performance reviews, autism friendly airports, skills based hiring, and more. Hey there, my name is Bernadette Smith. Welcome to 5 Things in 15 Minutes, my weekly show where I bring good vibes to DEI. That is good vibes to diversity, equity, and inclusion with a little dash of corporate social responsibility. What I've found is that there are lots of news stories about what's going wrong in the world and lots of negative data. But there are also a lot of things going right. That's what I like to focus on. I search for DEI stories that we can be inspired by and learn from. My hope is to inspire you to experiment with some of these inclusive actions and policies within your own organization to help you build a more inclusive world. Andres, welcome to the show. Will you please introduce yourself? Tell folks a little bit about yourself.
Hello, everyone. Andres Sigcha, founder and CEO of Tariy. We are a company that helps first-time managers communicate more effectively using AI. That's what we have found, that first-time managers are intricate to organizations, and unfortunately, they don't have the training or the skills to lead people. Most of the time, they're just good performers, and we just found out through research that if they are able to communicate effectively, then they can actually lead better. So that's what we do.
I love that. Can you talk a little bit about how your product helps managers and sort of what are some of the communication problems you're trying to solve?
Yeah, definitely. So I believe that as first time managers, usually they are good contributors,
Mm-hmm.
and in sales or in customer service or in other fields, and as so leaders like, oh, Peter, come in. You are now going to become a manager. And Peter's like, well, I have never led a team. I don't know how to have good meetings. I don't know how to give performance reviews or one-on-ones or feedback. Or so most of the time they are kind of just left alone. And I'll tell you a crazy fact: 60% of managers fail in their first 24 months of their job. And we can attribute them to, well, they don't have the skills, but as an organization, if you bring somebody to fill that role, I guess your job should be train them and provide them with the right tools that they need.
Sure, set them up for success.
Yeah.
So, how does your product work? Does it integrate with an existing platform, or how does it actually work on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, definitely. So, as you will know, technology is like in everything that we do, and one of the big trends for AI and everything that is coming is kind of being embedded in the workflow, your daily
Mhm.
workflow. And for us was very specific. If you want a tool that it interacts with you, has to be where you are working. So we're integrated into Microsoft Teams,
Mhm.
where you are chatting with your team members, where you're meeting, and obviously you have Outlook and everything in between. And that's where we're calling it ILA. So ILA is our agent that interacts with you, and the way that it works is that it learns who you are, ask you certain questions, and then as the system is kind of getting to know you, obviously you ask questions. Initially becomes a little reactive, where you ask, hey, how could I do this, or what should I do in this situation? And then as the system learns more, it becomes proactive. So the next week it will ask you, Bernadette, hey, how was that situation that you asked me about this? Were you able to figure out, how can I help you? And kind of just making it short. And then after you talk to it, and or to her, I don't know how we want to call it, to Ayla,
Talk to them.
Ayla provides certain elements of training. So it will say,
Mhm.
Bernadette, I see that these are the main topics that there's opportunities for improvement, so let me help you with this. And it just kind of provides training. Now, we are taking it to the next step, where we believe that this is a massive opportunity for individuals, but also for organizations, and is training without practice or
Mm,
without implementation is just
mm,
knowledge.
right.
So
It's a good
we yeah. So
good
go
line.
ahead. Anyhow, so oh yeah, so we're implementing a role play system where
Okay.
you know after you have practice, Ayla says, perfect, now let's practice this. Bernadette, your role will your kind of task will be to tell Mary that these she has missed her quota in the last couple of quarters. So you suggest, provide any help, any feedback, and then make sure that the expectations are clear. And then the system will analyze the performance, how you're doing it, and then it will give you a score and it will say, oh, perfect, Bernadette, here are the improvements. So now, as you can see, it becomes a
Uh,
full training end-to-end system where you are not just learning something, but you're practicing, but the actual learning becomes personal and
ah.
your need rather than, a 10,000 people organization where they just said, here, learn this and figure out.
And when the teams that folks are managing are increasingly diverse, it's so important to manage inclusively. So, talk to me a little bit about how your product is helping folks manage diverse teams.
Yeah, definitely. Well, in this era where we're meeting in video calls, like,
Mhm.
every single company has a distributed teams. And by big distributed teams, I mean, everywhere in the world. So that means that you're having people from all backgrounds, from all beliefs, from all races,
Mm,
from all genders. So you have no choice but to be understanding and aware of these intricacies of leading, kind of diverse teams. So Ayla has been trained on very specific, inclusive terms and just knowledge and just ways of making sure that managers have this awareness of how to lead inclusively and diverse teams.
I love it. That's very, very cool and something that a lot of folks can really benefit from. Andres, in your work with your companies, with your clients, and I guess just in general, what's giving you hope around diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Yeah, definitely. I think that it's been and I love your intro where you said that you focus on the good rather than the
Mhm.
bad, and I think it's a choice. We
Sure.
see all these bad elements and all these things, but I, same as you, choose to focus on the good, on that people can learn, and that people can be trained, and that we as humans have the desire to always be inclusive, but we just need to kind of be open to that learning element. And to me, it occurred that if there is a system that is safe, that it provides this psychological safety where you can
Mm,
learn without somebody knowing, oh, this is the bad things that you're doing. So it's just personal, and you're like
mm,
improving, and you have a measurement, and you're able to kind of like track progress. Then you are actually becoming a better leader and a better manager.
mm.
So again, I think this is extremely important because this is the world that we live in on. It's
Yeah,
not going to change. It's actually going to just fast track. And having people that are from different backgrounds, different beliefs, different religions is the normal.
sure.
So we better jump in the wagon or we'll be left behind.
That's right. I completely agree. Well, one thing that I wrote about in this week's Five Things newsletter was watching one of my family members in their flow state at work. I had the opportunity to sort of be a fly on the wall and sort of witness them really just doing their thing, just sort of sitting back. And it was such a cool experience. And it made me think about my own flow state with my own sort of what does it mean to be in the zone? For me, it's really speaking and any opportunity I get to present like this. And I would actually love for you to share a little bit about what's your flow state. What does it mean? What does it look like when you're in the zone?
Certainly. I love to create.
Mm,
I love to see where are the opportunities as a positive person, and I could tell you like all these profiles and all the stuff. I'm always like the top chart of being positive.
uh,
So that's where my flow is into seeing the opportunities, seeing the possibilities and what it can be, not what it is.
so you're a manifester like me. I'm sure you
Yes,
must be.
exactly. But I need sometimes people that help me bring to the ground, you know. So
Of course. Of course, we are nothing without our teams. Okay, and
yeah,
without just the support of other folks cheering each other on. I mean, we're both entrepreneurs, so the hustle is real. Let's get let's be honest about that. But we are
100%.
nothing without the folks behind us and with us on our teams.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. You know, I was talking to one of my team members yesterday, and I told him that when in my first journey as entrepreneur, I was like, I thought I could do everything. I could do
Mhm.
this, and I was never able to grow. And
Mm.
you know, I think it's all about maturity and learning and the process of becoming a better person, professional, where you realize that you cannot do it all. You always
Absolutely.
need people next to you, helping you, seeing things that you don't see. So. Uh, that's it.
All right. Well, let's get into this week's good vibes. The first story comes from Hitachi, which beginning next year is taking a proactive approach by adding DEI metrics to its employee performance reviews. Specifically, this is going to impact 40% of its Japan based workplace. So, the reason this is significant is because Japan faces unique DEI challenges, including a big gender gap, a big aging population, and so seeing this sort of play out in Japan is going to be a really meaningful shift. It's not the type of thing we tend to see. First of all, we don't see a lot of companies doing it here in the States, but it's certainly something that we're not seeing a lot of um, Asian-based companies doing. So I think this is a really big win for Hitachi.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to do like follow them, like as you said, the fly on the wall, and see how they actually do this because it sounds challenging, but if they can actually pull it off, it's gonna be just a worldwide phenomenon that I think could be implemented in other, you know, companies that are global.
Yeah, we need to see more accountability. I mean, it's one thing to say, "Hey, we're setting all these goals," but it's another thing to have accountability. And so when a company as large as Hitachi is doing this, it's certainly going to inspire others to follow suit.
Yeah,
Okay, the second story this week is coming from JFK Airport in New York and other airports, which have become more autism friendly. So on LinkedIn, Nate Shelev, who's autistic, wrote about their experience at JFK and how it was dramatically improved due to the Sunflower Initiative, a symbol for hidden disabilities. So navigating an airport can be really chaotic, especially for someone with autism. But Nate was wearing the sunflower lanyard, which signifies a need for support and grants access to a separate security lane without explanation. So, this is something that is proactive. It's happening at airports across the country. And when folks wear some sort of sunflower badge, it's a signal to the airport staff that they have special accommodations. And I love that this is proactive and it's reducing the stigma.
definitely. That's such a great initiative. Now, I think this should be also the opposite, where they put a little sign where the people can actually find where they have to go. People with,
Hmm.
you know, disabilities and needs can actually go to that. That's great.
It sure is. All right. The third story this week comes from the state of Massachusetts here in the US, where Governor Maura Healey signed an executive order eliminating minimum education requirements for state agency hires. So it's a shift to a more skills based hiring. It's fantastic. And it's something we need to see a lot more of.
Definitely. Well, I believe that, you know, that's why also one of the reasons why we built Tardy, because it's not about what you study, is about how you apply things in your real life. And that's like, those are training, you know, like things. So for us, we envision also, sorry that I put this little thing, but I think that if you're able to take a course, you know, and just say, oh, I saw this on LinkedIn Learning, how did you apply that? How
Right.
did you make it real? So if there are, you know, certifications that now can go into these, like obviously like I learned AI and I learned this and learned that, what an amazing world we're living in, where education just becomes secondary and skills are actually what matter.
That's exactly right, and I think that we tend to forget sometimes, that a lot of times higher education degrees are out of reach for some folks for one reason or another.
Mhm.
A lot of systemic racism and oppression makes it harder to obtain these degrees, yet there are a lot of folks with great skills. And so I think making this shift is really about equity.
100%.
All right. The fourth story this week comes from Walmart, which is showing up on five things at an increasingly common rate, which is fantastic. I wrote about Walmart recently because they gave some significant promotions or raises to their managers. Well, they're doing it again. This time, Walmart is giving its store managers up to $20,000 annually in stock grants, which is effectively making them owners in the company, potentially helping them earn over $400,000 annually. And when about 75% of store management began as hourly employees, this can be really significant, especially for BIPOC folks who are more likely to work as customer facing employees. It's a really great path for them to wealth.
Crazy. They are, I think, reinventing themselves. Obviously, I read a few years ago that Walmart was one of the companies that had the highest turnover.
Mm.
And obviously, because minimum, kind of work or element. And now it's like, they're kind of switching this to providing a path that is, inclusive and that actually offers a good future for anybody.
We got to get those Walmart store managers to use Tari.
That's it. All right, Omar, here we are.
Walmart, if you are listening or watching, talk to Andres. All right. Especially because they probably don't, well, I'm sure there's a lot of on the job training, but they might not. I mean, because they are constantly in motion, it might be hard for them to sit down and sort of attend a, an in person training. And it seems like your product could be a really good fit there. Anyway.
100%. Yeah.
Okay, the fifth story this week is about Mark Cuban, who is one of the owners of the Dallas Mavericks. He's a shark on Shark Tank, and he is another powerful straight white guy speaking out for DEI. He said on X, formerly Twitter, "If you find the companies who think that diversity is a negative, let me know. I want to short them or compete against them." So he is a big, big supporter of DEI because he knows it's the reality. He knows it's necessary.
Yeah, love it, love it. I'm glad that we're seeing people not just that have good ideas, but that actually have made it and that have this perception of like it matters.
Mhm.
Whether you want it or not, or whether you believe it or not, it is here and it matters and is real.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we need more folks like Mark, folks like Jamie Dimon, who have power, who have privilege, who have access and influence to keep speaking up because folks listen to them. Their voice really matters.
Yeah, definitely.
They are very influential. Okay, so this week's call to action is a reminder that, hey, folks, it is Black History Month. So, in the spirit of intersectionality, we're going to drop a list of 12 Black queer books and 21 Black queer films in the show notes, in the comments, so you can check them out, diversify your media sources, and learn more about all different types of stories and cultures. And Andres, how can folks get in touch with you?
Yeah. Well, you can reach out at our website. We have a form where we, are onboarding early customers. Is Tariy.ai, and I'm going to spell it Tariy.ai. And if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, would love to. Is my name. I know it's a little different, but follow us, reach out. We would love to see how we can help organizations really train their managers. And I would love to finish with this. I came across to this wonderful book. It's called Power to the Middle, and it talks about really one of the important elements of how managers connect C-level to frontline, strategy to execution, and how like in a sense sometimes they have been forgotten. And
Yeah.
we have not forgotten you, managers. Here we are to help you, to train you, and to provide the skills that you need.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. Hope you get a lot of folks who reach out to you from the show. Really great having you, Andres. I'm going to make sure everything gets put in the show notes. And folks, if you don't already subscribe to the 5 Things newsletter, you can subscribe at 5thingsdei.com. Thank you, everyone. Have a great week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to 5 Things in 15 Minutes. I hope you found yourself inspired by at least one of this week's stories. If you did, would you mind sharing it with a colleague and leaving us a review on your favorite podcasting platform? And if you don't already get my 5 Things newsletter, join at 5thingsdei.com. I'm Bernadette Smith, and I'll see you next week right here for 5 Things in 15 Minutes, bringing good vibes to DEI.